Let's go back to the events of November 2019. And I mean, I'm sorry to sort of drag you back there, but I guess the first thing in these situations, as indeed on the train the other night, is realizing that something really terrible is happening. It's not that someone's dropped a jug or someone's screaming because they've seen a mouse. It's something really bad. And I just take us back to what happened in that first realization that something bad was happening.
Yeah, thanks, Evan. At first, the first moments, there's absolute chaos, there's confusion. People don't really know what's happening, but quite often you'll hear people screaming. People will be running in the opposite direction, but not passing on a lot of information. They'll just be running in fear away from the trouble. So I think in the early stages, you don't really know what you're running to, but you're going in the opposite direction to everyone else.
But running in the opposite direction to everyone else is in itself an interesting thing to do. Is that a thought out action, or is that I better go and see what's going on action?
It's 100% a thought out action. You need to make a conscious decision to go in towards the unknown because you don't know what you're going to face. So I don't think it's inquisitive. It's a reaction that you feel you need to do something, but you don't know what that is yet because you haven't seen it. And I can imagine on a train, you're going through a long passageway, a corridor, when you're going to have to forcibly pass through and push past people going in the opposite direction. So it takes a decision to go into that danger.
Yeah.
Unknown danger as well, because whoever's running towards it won't necessarily know what information, what they're going to face.
Yeah. Well, look, just remind us what happened. So, I mean, Usman Khan had erupted really out of the day's events and turned attacker. Where did you first encounter him after he'd gone on the attack?
Yeah, so we were in a conference hall just above, and we heard the screams and shouts down below. A few people thought it might be the shouts and screams of children that had got into the building, but then the shouts got louder, and staff told us, the conference administrators told us to stay where we were. But instinctively, myself and Steve Gallant stood up and started going out. We had to cross the whole conference room to get to the doors and go down. So that was when we heard the second lot of screams. The first lot could have been kids breaking in, but when the screams continued, we knew it was something more sinister. And so we ran to the doors, and when we got to the doors, we got to this double winding staircase. Steve started down one side, I started down the other. And that's when a lady was running up going, "Oh my God, oh my God." And I looked over the banister, and that's when we saw, sadly, Saskia Jones falling onto the stairs, quite clearly severely injured. And that's when I realized I needed to do something else to defend whoever else might be down there.
Right. So, well, this is where we get into what became quite a famous piece of the story. You grab a tusk or something off the wall. I mean,
yeah. So I had been down, I got to the event early and I surveyed the place because it was really a beautiful building. And unbeknownst to me, by surveying the place, I realized there wasn't much downstairs that I could use to defend anyone. And it's a marble building and there weren't many objects that you could grab. So I thought next thing, and this shows that there's thinking the whole time, was that I was then going to go where we were served lunch that afternoon. And in the servery, I was going to go and get the lid of a Bay Marine as a makeshift shield and a spoon, a ladle that they'd served the fish pie with. But as I was running there, I passed this narrow hallway that I hadn't noticed before. It was dimly lit, and there were two narwhal tusks either side of the door. And when I saw that, I changed my plan. I thought that would be a much better weapon for whatever was downstairs.
it's hard. I don't know what the passage of time is in your head at that time. Is it going very fast? Is it going very slowly? I can imagine it's not kind of like a normal part of a day in any sense.
Yeah, so time's an interesting one. At that time, it was still normal. It was when I got downstairs and started seeing what was actually happening and seeing the injured people. That's when time slowed down for me and decisions were, the time passing was a lot shorter than I had thought. And I know this by seeing the video replay of what happened on the bridge. That interaction, I thought was a 20 or 30-second interaction. I've seen it on TV and it's a matter of 2 or 3 seconds, because I managed to run at him with this 2 meter long object. And when he lifted his arms, there was only about a centimeter of flesh that was showing out of the jacket and the protective stuff he had. And I managed to, at full pace, run and hit him with a 2 meter long lance effectively. And that's because for me, everything slowed down and I was able to aim it properly. So it was a really interesting thing. But when I first saw the bomb, my brain was spinning, but I was still making decisions and trying to think what was the best option, because above him was over 100 people sat in the hall. If I attack him and he blows it up, he kills that 100-odd people. He said he's waiting for the police, but then I was thinking, if I wait for the police, he'll kill them as well. So what do I do? So yeah, decisions were being made and quite rapidly.
Yeah. But when did you first see him and realize that he had a knife? And I mean, then you see that he's got something around him, strapped to him. What? Because I don't know. I guess I would just be terrified if I saw someone wielding a knife, which is a very dangerous weapon in the wrong hands, and then deciding I'm going to fight this guy. I'm not going to run from that.
Well, I went downstairs again with the narwhal tusk. I had to pass Saskia on the stairs. She was busy being cared by one of the prison officers, Adam, who had accompanied Steve. He followed Steve down and he was looking after her. And then there was this double door, and Steve was busy battling using a mahogany chair to try and keep something at bay, the other side of the swinging door. And as I went to the other door, which was it was a double door, one was open and one was swinging. I went to the open door, and that's when I was presented by quite a stark figure, because the sun, it was all backlit. There's these gorgeous ornate windows, but the sun was streaming in. So he was this really dark figure with the sun behind, but the sun came down in a streak, which was really interesting because it was landing perfectly on another victim, a female victim who had been stabbed 8 times, who was laying in a pool of her own blood. But this light like shone on her, like if you've ever seen any of the biblical things when they have an angel or anything, and it looked like she was this angel on the floor with her white shirt. So it was a really startling image to see this dark, foreboding shadow. And then as my eyes adjusted, you could see the 2 8-inch knives that he had. And it was at that time when he seemed a bit startled when I arrived with this narwhal tusk and held that at his belly. And he seemed to negotiate with me, saying he was waiting for the police. At that time, one of the ladies behind, who was trying to resuscitate Saskia, said, "Oh my God, he's got a bomb." And at that point, he looks down, he opens up his jacket a bit, and he says, "And I've got a bomb." And I look there, and it's this very convincing looking contraption with the tubes and wires and little gadgets on it, all black, wrapped in, it looks like TNT straps all on this belt across him. And that's when, I didn't know what to do, and I was trying to contemplate what to do. And it was only Steve's actions, because Steve was using this chair to keep himself abreast, but Steve threw the chair at him. And then when that chair glanced off his shoulder, then Steve was empty-handed, and then Khan then went to attack Steve. And that's when I was thinking, okay, the next rational thing is to protect Steve, and the only way is to pass him the narwhal tusk. So Steve's next to me, I pass him the narwhal tusk, he looks at me, takes the narwhal tusk, and then I'm empty-handed a meter away from the guy who's killing people. So at that point, I'm thinking again, what's the next best thing to do? And I think, go upstairs and get the second narwhal tusk. So I go back up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much thinking you're describing as all of this is happening. But do you have a kind of rage at this point, an anger that is motivating you or giving you a sort of fearlessness?
No, I had no rage or anger. I had a sense of urgency to be able to get to that girl who was laying on the floor, because I knew Saskia was getting care, but the other girl wasn't. And that was my overwhelming thing, is we need to move him so that we can get to the other girl. And so I'm thinking, how can we get to him or corner him or do something so that he can't attack more people, but people can get to the other girl to give her care? And that was my overwhelming thought. It wasn't about danger or self-preservation. In fact, it took about, I think I was in proper shock for about 2 weeks, until I even realized the danger that I'd put myself in there.
Yeah. So on the moment, you're not thinking about danger. You're not angry or kind of in a rage. So you're in a
No.
rational control of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Remind us how it all finishes, because it kind of goes out of Fishmongers Hall onto London Bridge.
Yeah, so I come back downstairs. So I meet a work colleague who's coming out of the hall by the doors where the narwhal tusks are. And everyone upstairs is frightened and panicked. And I didn't really understand why. I didn't think they could see. But as I turn around taking this narwhal tusk, I see some more injured people who are bleeding and stuff. And so I realize that they don't know what's going on, but they're seeing other people injured and bleeding upstairs. So that was why they were so frightened and panicked, understandably. So I run back downstairs and I see a foot going out the front door and everyone's shouting, lock the front door, lock the front door. And I'm shouting, unlock the front door, I need to get out. And so there's a doorman there and he opens the door and I go out, and this is the moment I realize I've got tunnel vision. And my two things happened. My hearing went off for anything except for the terrorist. It was like this funnel of vision. My vision went into, all I could see was in the center, everything else went black. And that was like focused on Khan. And yeah, and my hearing somehow just tuned into only what he was doing. So I couldn't hear anything else that was going on. The alarms were going off in the building and everything. I couldn't remember or hear any of that. So then I see him running towards the public, chasing with his knives up and down, beside him. And I run full pelt towards him. I pass Steve Gallant and John Crilly, and they kind of stood flat-footed at the stairs of the Fishmongers Hall. And I think I'd just leave them there. So I run full tilt at him. He turns around when he can't catch any of the public, so comes to face me, and he raises both knives when he sees I'm running at him, and he raises both knives and runs straight at me. And because he's raised both knives, his heavy jacket lifts, and I can see that 1 centimeter of skin above his belt and below the jacket. So I run and aim it at that at full pelt, and I pierce him with the narwhal tusk, and I pull it out, and that's the moment I'm ready for him to attack me again, and I think I'm on my own. But magically, John Crilly's there, tries to spray him with this fire extinguisher. It doesn't hit him at all because the wind carries it perfectly, and disguises Steve Gallant coming down the side. So then Steve Gallant gets past him without him seeing him because of this puff of disguising smoke. And now he's by his back shoulder. He stands up again after I've just got him with the narwhal tusk. He tries to slash out at John Crilly, and Steve Gallant manages to pull him backwards because he's behind him, so he loses balance and falls down. And that's when I shake the narwhal tusk because I was ready to be attacked, but then all of a sudden I got people helping me, so I drop the narwhal tusk, break that one as well, and then jump onto his back and grab both his wrists and hold them above his head so that he can't slice anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about it in this way now, but you did say you did. It did take you time to recover. I don't know whether you had PTSD or trauma out of it, but it was only after the fact that you realised what an experience you'd been through.
Yeah, so the police arrived. They came with automatic rifles, put them at our head. The public came and tried to kick him, Khan, in the head and stuff, and I was shouting at them, don't kick him, take the knives off him. And I had to shift my body to protect him because at that point we had him restrained. So my next thing was protect him, but get the knives off him because that's the danger. So then people stood on my hands. It was really painful, but a relief because then I wasn't trying to hold him on my own. And then they started trying to kick the knives out. Then the police arrived and the police put the guns at our heads and shouted for everyone to move away. And they did, but then I was battling him on my own and he turns around. And I was shouting at the police because I was wanting them to help me arrest him at that point. And we're shuffling. The police try and pull me off physically a few times. I refuse because I think he might have a trigger and blow this all up and then he kills everyone. So there's no point of me letting him go. And so the police try again. And then at that point, he just calmly looks up at the police and says, "I've got a bomb." And the police officer's voice breaks. He goes, "He's got a bomb! He's got a bomb!" And he couldn't get the words out. And then he does get them out and he shouts, "He's got a bomb! He's got a bomb!" Now I'm face to face with him and I look down like 10 centimeters from this bomb and I'm trying to figure out what's the best course of action for me to do. And then I see something on the side, on the left-hand side of it, right as I look at it, that looked like a little calculator or a cell phone. And I was like, have I made the wrong choice here anyway? Could he have an accomplice who's going to set this off and kill everyone anyway? Am I helping? Is it the best thing to move away so that the police can deal with him? And as I'm deciding what I should do, the police officer pulls me again and I fall off balance. So I let go and move. And that's when the police open fire and my brain, I just blank out. I go blank. And the next thing I come to, and I'm upstairs in the building again at the window closest to the incident with my phone taking pictures of the scene. And I don't know how I got there or anything.
It's funny how the brain works, how the body works. You were never thinking, I want to be a hero. I want people to say how good. I mean, it doesn't, your kind of legacy, your public profile, it was never in your head at all. You're not thinking about what people will look at me as or anything like that.
No. You're in the moment. You're not thinking future or anything. You're thinking right there, right there. What can you do to save other people, to prevent more hurt, to prevent more harm? And you're not thinking about the future. In fact, it took a long time for me even to think about the future. I was replaying after the events for about 2 months. People would talk to me and I was like a vacant soul, because in my mind the video of everything was just playing on repeat and repeat and repeat. And I think that's the brain trying to process what happened, and it was just going through it over and over and over and over. And I didn't really sleep for the first week. I had to take tablets just to try and force myself to shut down.
Did you get
And
professional help? Did they offer professional help to you? You've obviously been through an enormous thing, and I mean, you might expect you to get some counselling or something.
yeah, I did. And I also learned some valuable lessons. I got some counseling quite early on, and I realized that counseling doesn't work whilst you're in that trauma still. It's too soon. And I learned this later on. It was really nice to know that there was help available. And I went to some counseling sessions, but I still can't even remember those. Your brain is so messed up, so fried, that you go and you just verbalize everything. It's like just comes out of you. But I don't know if it's really helpful then. You can't really process it. But I think the comfort of having someone to talk to is a bonus. It's a benefit. Um, I think even going and speaking to someone once or twice, and then you have a period of three months, so your brain can naturally settle and then maybe process. And I think that is the standard practice.
Yeah. Do you ever
Does
ask
really help.
why some people do what you did? It's not the most common reaction. Some people run to the danger to try and
Yeah.
counter it, and of course others run away from it. And it's a bit of a cliche to say it now, but obviously a lot of us think we don't know what we'd do. We might love to think we would be the hero on the occasion, but we might well be those running away. Do you ever think about, why some do one thing and others do other things, or?
I think that your body will tell you what to do at the time, and no matter how you try and fight it, your body will take control. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Um, I think about the young lady who was stabbed 8 times. She played dead and lay on the ground. She didn't try and move or run or anything. And that probably saved her life because she wasn't expending more energy. She didn't pump blood out of her own body quicker. And she stayed still. And so he didn't continue attacking her, which is a positive thing. And she survived miraculously. And there's other things, like if more people had run there, it may have created more chaos. It could have given him more targets to go for. We're quite fortunate of how it ended after that because we managed to prevent further loss of life. And I think that's remarkable. So I don't think anyone who does freeze or drop or whatever should ever blame themselves. It's their body's natural way of protecting them. And sometimes that is the best outcome.
I don't know. What are your feelings when you read headlines, news stories like the one over the weekend, which are not exactly the same, but they have a lot of resonance with the experience at Fishmongers Hall? And I mean, does that kind of keep you awake at night? What are your thoughts as you hear those experiences?
Uh, I think everyone jumps to the terror moniker, and is it terror, is it not? Whether or not it was terror or not, the impact on those individuals that were there will be exactly the same. There will be so many lives changed forever from this incident, whether it was the person who ran to danger, whether it was the train driver, whether it was anyone else who ran away and thought, could I have done something else? Even if they can't or couldn't have or shouldn't have, these things will play on their minds. And for those who witness those things, it will be very difficult. It's not a natural thing to see that kind of hurt and damage happening in society. So I feel firstly for those people who are right there, but then also the unseen victims. So there's families who get to see horrific things. There's the emergency workers who rush in to see that. And I don't think we give enough credit to our public servants and people working on trains. You think of prison officers, police officers, people who see this thing day in, day out. It's really takes a toll.